pin the spotlight on you. Thank you for joining us today. It is an honor to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Hayley. What a lovely, gorgeous introduction. Well, it's an honor to be here within the Women's Entrepreneur Summit. I really do appreciate that, guys. So what we're going to be talking about over the next hour to an hour and a half, guys, is confidence. Now, this is something that I feel is a running theme throughout so many things, not only our businesses, but our lives. You know, this really is one of those emotional states that so many people feel as though they're missing. And what I want to completely dispel some of the myths around confidence. And I want everybody towards the end of this session to feel confident, feel empowered, but more importantly, to be able to walk away with some very tangible steps that you can all take to help increase your confidence. Now, before I jump in, Hayley, just want to double check this because I'm the host. When someone pops up and it says they're in the waiting room, shall I be the one that lets them in?
I've got them.
You got them. Okay,
You've
cool.
got co-hosts so you can share, but I am actually sitting here letting people in. And we've got a couple of people that are co-hosts, so I'm hoping we can all grab them as they come by.
Tremendous. Awesome, guys. Well, let's jump in, shall we? For those people that have their cameras on, apart from you, Barbara, because you're driving, so make sure you stay safe. Everyone who has their cameras on, give me a peace sign if you're ready to jump in to this content. Yes, JP. PJ, not JP. I don't know why I read that backwards. That's strange, isn't it? How the brain does that. Yes, PJ. I like the double peace sign. Let's go for it, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, today we are indeed talking about confidence. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. Let's dive in. This is going to be a confidence masterclass. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. Now, confidence is one of those topics that we can talk about for days, for weeks, for months. I believe that you could do a doctorate on confidence because it's that intricate, it's that detailed. However, we only have between an hour to an hour and a half. So we can't do a doctorate, right? But what we can do is we can try to condense as much information into this hour to an hour and a half as possible so that by the end, we're feeling as though that we're in a more sturdy position to move forward and increase our own levels of confidence and also know a little bit more about what it actually is. However, before we begin, there's something that I'm a big believer in. I'm a big believer in the idea that I would never have the audacity or the cheek to expect you to listen to me without earning your respect and without letting you know as to why I'm somebody that knows what I'm talking about, that's walked my talk, that's been there, done it, got the experience. And now I want to try to help you with the things that I've learned. I would never simply expect anybody to just listen to me just because I've popped up one day and said, look, I'm going to tell you a story, or I'm going to offer some value. So I just want to give you a little bit of a background as to who I am, where I've been, where I've come from, where I am today, and some of the reasons as to why confidence is a topic that I am qualified to talk about, that I have experience in, and something that I'm very passionate about as well. Now, one thing is I get nervous, right? As do we all, of course. I get nervous before I speak. Now, it doesn't matter if I'm talking on a Zoom, on an Instagram live, on a Facebook live, or if I'm in an auditorium in front of 5,000 people. I get nervous, right? And I will always be open, transparent, and honest about that. So bear with me. Sometimes I'll get a little dry mouth and I have to, as we say in the UK, wet my whistle. Which is a funny term. I love that term, wet my whistle. I actually found out where that came from recently. Apparently, back in the day, when you were sitting in a pub or a bar, all of the jugs used to have a little whistle on it. And if you wanted to get the attention of the barman or the barmaid, you'd blow the whistle, and it's called wet my whistle. So anyway, you know, I get nervous. Sometimes I'll slip up on my words. Sometimes I'll get a bit lost. Sometimes I get a dry mouth. And you know what? I always push through and I move with it using the techniques that I'm going to be teaching you today when it comes to building confidence. So yeah, I'm a human being. I still feel those emotions. I may have spoken on various different stages across the world, and I'll still feel those emotions of nerves. I'll still feel those butterflies. I'll still have those things that hold me back and that make a talk that little bit more difficult. But where have I come from? That's what I really, really want to start this off with, because many, many years ago, I was an actor and I had quite a successful acting career. I'd gone from drama school in London and I did various different plays. And then I did a few bits on television. I did a few dramas for the BBC. And then I got into movies and I did some pretty cool films. I did a film with Benedict Cumberbatch where we had like an awesome fight scene. And I also had the opportunity to body double for Tom Hardy in Batman. He played a character called Bane. And at the time I was really big and stocky. I was like really into bodybuilding. And so I went to this audition, and at first I didn't even know what the audition was for. And I had to write down all of my physical dimensions on this piece of paper. And because I was into bodybuilding, I knew what they were down to like the last little millimeter. And this woman took me into a room and she said, look, Liam, one of our main actors for this movie needs a body double and your physical dimensions are exactly the same as his. And we've been looking for someone with these dimensions for the last 6 months. 1, are you free for the next year? 2, are you willing to shave your head? And 3, are you willing to put on even more weight if you need to? And I was like, well, what's the movie? And they didn't tell me. And eventually I went to another audition and another audition. They told me it was Batman. And I was like, yes, I'm in. I'm willing to do anything. So I worked on the set of Batman every day for the best part of a year. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, right? I worked side by side with just the creme de la creme of the acting world. It was Tom Hardy and Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine. And I thought I had made it. I was like, yes, mom, I've made it, mom. I thought this is it. My life is made up. I've got this awesome acting career. And you know what? Completely out of nowhere, it just completely stopped. It crashed. It crumbled. My agent stopped calling, the jobs dried up. Me and my wife at the time had just moved into this small apartment in the middle of London, and I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. I had no idea how I was going to pay my rent. So I got to a point where I thought, you know what, I need a job that will allow me to get to auditions if I do get auditions and will also allow me to pay the rent. And I became a mailman. I was a full-time mailman. And I thought, you know what? It's just a stopgap. It's just, you know, for the next couple of weeks until I get another good audition. But then 1 week turns into 2 weeks, 2 weeks turn into a month, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. And you know what? Respect to the mailmen out there, but it wasn't my path. And I felt like I had let myself down in a big way because I thought I was on this path where I was going to be an actor. It didn't work out. And then I ended up being a mailman, which was going to be a part-time thing. I ended up being there for a couple of years. But there was one day, and this is just one of the most significant moments of my life, where I had started to discover this thing called personal development and coaching and mindset development and self-development. And I was listening to the likes of Tony Robbins and Paul McKenna and Jim Rohn as I'm doing my rounds and delivering my mail. And so I started playing with the idea that I could use this thing to maybe increase my own confidence, to maybe increase my own self-esteem, to increase my focus. But it was only ever just something I played with. It wasn't really anything I took seriously. But one day I ended up delivering mail to Tom Hardy's house because he lives in Richmond, right? It was an area of London which I delivered mail. And all day I was thinking, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And at this point, I'd lost a lot of weight. My hair grew, my beard grew. I didn't look anything like I did 5 years earlier when we worked on this movie together. And I thought, is he going to recognize me? Am I going to reintroduce myself? I don't know what to say. And I knocked on the door and he opened the door and he didn't even recognize me. And I couldn't even bring myself to say, hey, it's Liam. We worked on this film together. Do you remember me? And instead I just said, I need your signature for this package. And he gave me the signature for the package. He closed the door. I walked back to the sorting office, dropped my bag down, went home, and I quit that job that day. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to do something else. And I had already been playing with the idea of becoming a coach. So I really stepped into it. I really threw myself into it. I became a coach. I became qualified and accredited. I threw myself into it. I absorbed every bit of information I could. I read every book. I went to every seminar. I did every training course. I just wanted to be a great coach. And when I started my coaching business, it started off really slowly. And it was really tough at first as I was sort of clawing my way along that journey. And there was one really significant moment in my life where only about 7 months after I had become a coach, I was questioning, what is it that I'm doing? Am I really adding value to people's lives? Is this effective? Can it really change people's mindset? Can it really help? Now, my clients at the time were having good experiences, but was it really having the dramatic positive effect that I knew it needed if I was going to create a business out of this thing called coaching? And on June 3rd, 2017, me and my wife were at home in our little apartment in London, and we were looking out the window, and completely out of nowhere, we saw multiple people being stabbed. It was a chaotic, horrific, havoc-driven attack that was happening out on the street right in front of our apartment. And we saw people being stabbed in the back, in the chest, in the arms, and just this really chaotic attacking happening. And there was terror in the air. And terror is a really horrible sound. You can almost, terror smells a certain way and feels a certain way. And you could feel that there was terror in the air. And there were people running. They were running down the street, hiding under cars, running down into the underground. And what it was the London Bridge terror attacks of 2017, which turned out to be one of the bloodiest and most violent terror attacks in London's history. And we watched this whole thing unfold in front of us with this very bizarre bird's eye view as we sit inside of our apartment looking down onto the street. And so, of course, we're filled with fear, apprehension, confusion. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. Can we help in any way? And then this one police officer shouted up at us and said, "You need to get out of your apartment because we think there's a bomb in the pub." And we lived above this pub. And then this other police officer said, no, don't go anywhere because there's people being attacked down here. And it was like this horrible tennis match, back and forth, back and forth. And that went on for about 30 minutes. And the whole time I felt like I was staring down the barrel of a gun. And I'm asking these crazy questions in my head. Like, if a bomb goes off, what's going to have the least impact? Is it the bed? Is it the couch? Is it the kitchen counter? If I have to go out onto the street, how am I going to protect my wife? I don't know how to do that in front of attackers that are killing people with knives. And it was this horrible, chaotic pressure cooker feeling of helplessness. And eventually the first police officer said, "No, you really do need to get out of your apartment right now." And so we walked out, went downstairs, and there were people just laying in the street who had been stabbed, who had been killed. There were not many ambulance service there because there just weren't enough. And we had to run all the way down this road. And eventually this one guy let us stay at his apartment, and we couldn't go home for 10 days. And the police had kicked down our door. They'd flipped over our couch, our bed, because they were just looking for anything in relation to the attack. Now, the reason I tell this story is because at that time where I was questioning coaching, does this work? Mindset development, does it work? This confidence building, this breaking down of limiting beliefs, all this perception shifting, does it really work? And in that moment, it would have been so easy for me to have developed a mindset of hate, of anger, of fear. And I knew that I needed to develop a mindset of love and forgiveness and understanding if I was ever going to be able to help me and my wife and the other people that we had met off the back of that night, if I was ever going to help any of us move through what we had seen that night. And so I started coaching myself on a daily basis using the tools and the techniques that I learned as a coach, just to help me move through the days and get through the days. And I was coaching my wife at the same time to help coach her through these panic attacks that she was having because of the attack. And it was working. And I was feeling it, and I was able to become refocused, and I was able to reclaim my confidence again after having completely lost it after this attack. I felt like I didn't want to go outside. I was really worried walking down the street. We lived in a very busy part of London. I was nervous about the people that were around me. I was questioning everything because I felt like I was in danger a lot of the time. And I was coaching myself through this, and it was really seriously effective. So it was giving me that confidence I needed to know that the confidence development coaching and the mindset coaching that I do with my clients and other people is working, it's effective. And it was only about a year after that that I then lost my dad to suicide, which was just a complete and utter shock. Like, my dad, John Collins, my best friend in this whole world, the person who is most like me in this world, just full of life, full of love, loves his home, loves his dogs, loves his cars, loves his family. Just completely out of nowhere, one day I get this phone call telling me from this police officer that he stepped in front of a train on his way to work. And once again, naturally, my confidence is completely and utterly shattered, right, into 1,000 pieces. And being completely open and transparent, I really, really hated myself after my dad died. And I was really questioning in a big way what it is I do. And I was saying to myself, how dare you call yourself a coach? And how dare you say that you help people move through these moments of apprehension and fear and doubt when you can't help your own dad? Now, it's a long story short. I'd later found out that my dad had actually phoned his doctor and told his doctor that he was having trouble sleeping. And this doctor, who had never met him before and didn't examine him because he'd never met him, over the phone prescribed him this combination of sleeping pills and antidepressants that he had never had before. I don't know why he prescribed him the antidepressants, but we later found out that this combination of pills just really increased suicidal thoughts in people, and it increased suicidal tendencies. And he took these pills for 10 days and he stepped in front of a train. And past that, I'll never know why else that happened. But once again, I'm put in a position where I have to rebuild my entire mindset from scratch because it had been shattered into 1,000 pieces. I had to rebuild my confidence. I had to rebuild my focus. I had to rebuild my life because I'd just lost my best friend, my dad. So once again, I'm coaching myself every day, coaching myself and coaching my loved ones again, because my mum had lost her husband, my wife had lost her father-in-law, my sister had lost her dad, I'd lost my dad. And once again, it acted as this source of inspiration and motivation for me that what I do is effective, mainly because I was able to coach myself through this horrific process of negative, drastic, damning experiences. And the reason I really tell these stories is because what I do, I don't do it because I think it's a good opportunity and it's a fun thing to do. I do it because it's genuinely saved my life on more than one occasion. It saved my mindset to the point in which it has saved my life. And it has created a huge opportunity for me to drive forward in moments of adversity in my personal life and in my business. So I'm so passionate about coaching to the point where I know that this thing has saved my life. So I want to tell everybody about it. And since those days, I've gone on to create the Coaching Masters. And the Coaching Masters is an online training academy where I now qualify and accredit other people to become coaches. And what I really want to do is I really want to create an army of coaches in this world who are able to not only coach themselves through these moments of adversity, but coach other people who are struggling and who are in a difficult place, because I've been there and I've seen it and I've experienced it. And coaching is the thing that's allowed me to climb out of those dark holes. I want to make coaching as fashionable as having a personal trainer. Nobody has any problem talking about the fact they've had a personal training session down the gym and working on their bodies, which is great. But I want people to be just as proud to work on their mindset and have a session with their business coach, their life coach, their confidence coach. And what we say at the Coaching Masters is that we're giving ordinary people like me ordinary people extraordinary tools to create freedom for themselves and others. And since then, I've spoken on multiple stages across the world, and we have members in 47 different countries. And yeah, I'm very proud of what we've built at the Coaching Masters, and it's all been built upon the shoulders of adding value to people's lives. There was a moment when I first started my business where I was very focused on how much money I could make. And I think that is a natural thing when we become entrepreneurs and we become business owners, and we are thinking about that and we're concerned with that. But there was a moment in the early days of my business where I was overly concerned with it, and it was my main point of focus. And because of that, my business was not doing well. And I was very fortunate to meet a very famous coach here in the UK called Paul McKenna. And Paul McKenna said one thing to me which completely changed my mindset. And he said, Liam, the more value you add to other people's lives, the more money you'll make anyway. And I realized in that moment, I need to shift my mindset away from how much money can I make? How can I buy a nicer car? Can I go on holidays? And I just need to focus on how much value can I add to other people's lives. And he was absolutely right. You know, my business has flourished because of that. And still to this day, everything we do is built upon the shoulders of adding value to other people's lives. So just a tiny little bit of background of me, guys, why I'm here, why I do what I do, why I'm talking in front of this audience, in front of yourself today, and why I'm so passionate about coaching and what it is I teach. So let's dive into a confidence masterclass, because confidence is something that has meant a great deal to me over the years. As I say, my confidence is something that in many respects has been really, what would be the best word for it? It's been flimsy. let's use the word flimsy. I think that really does define it. My confidence has been flimsy at the best of times, and at the worst of times, it's been shattered into 1,000 pieces. It's been flimsy in my childhood years where I'm not confident. I wasn't confident enough to speak in front of crowds. I wasn't confident enough to speak in front of my friends even. I was terrified of saying something that would sound stupid. I was terrified of maybe trying to crack a joke and nobody laughing. And then my confidence went all the way from that to being shattered the moment I lost my dad to suicide and I questioned everything about myself. So really, I've experienced a huge array of levels of confidence. And there have been times in my life where I have felt utterly on fire and purely confident and driven by it while standing up on stage and delivering these talks, or even the fact that I've just become a dad, which has been honestly just the most wonderful, incredible thing in my life. Me and my gorgeous wife, Claudia, who I've been with for the last 11 years, we have just had a gorgeous little baby girl, and her name is Posy Louise Collins. And she fills me with confidence. She really does fill me to the brim with confidence. But so I've experienced it all with confidence. So I really want to break this down, because I think it is a very important emotional state for our businesses and for our lives. So the first thing I want to talk about is the confidence misconception, or what I call the confidence misconception. Now, I'm sure at one point, most of us have felt this way, or at least thought this way, right? Now, a lot of the time, people that seem to feel that they experience this lack of confidence more often than not, what they'll do is they will look towards people that they deem to be confident people, right? And they will feel as though these people have some sort of superpower, like they're superhuman. And they'll look to them and they'll say, I wish I was that confident. I would love to be that confident. I would love to be confident like them. However, one of the first things that I really want to dispel here is that there is no such thing as a confident or an unconfident person. There are only people that find themselves in situations where they either experience the emotional state of confidence more or less, based on a few things. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't people amongst us that feel a lack of confidence more often than not. But the biggest misconception is that when we feel a lack of confidence, we immediately label ourselves as an unconfident person. And once we label ourselves as unconfident, then of course what our brain does and what our reticular activating system does and what our belief system does, will go out and look for evidence as to why it's absolutely true. So we'll recognize those moments where we're feeling unconfident and we'll say, yep, there you go. I knew it. I knew I wasn't confident. And we will completely ignore the events and the places and the situations that give us a sense of confidence because we believe that we're not confident. So lack of confidence or high confidence is simply because people are in situations that are causing their confidence levels to rise and fall. Now, these confidence levels exist entirely within the circumstances surrounding the event, and they're nothing to do with the individual themselves. Now, for everyone amongst us that feels as though we could embrace that label of an unconfident person, there will undoubtedly be situations in your life as a unique individual that will allow you to feel the sense of confidence. There will be situations where you feel more confident and situations where you feel less confident, right? Just a natural part of being a human being. In the same respect that there are situations that make us feel more safe or less safe, more loved or less loved, more free or less free. It's an emotional state. It's a value. It's something, it's what's the best word for it? Fluid. It's fluid. It's not rigid. It's fluid. It comes and goes. It moves, and that makes it very, very powerful. But it's when we convince ourselves that it's rigid. No, I am unconfident. I'll tell you one of the ways in which I dispel that for a lot of my clients is when I have clients. And by the way, throughout this presentation, you'll see the word clients a lot. I use it from the perspective of a coach working with a client, but feel free to replace that word with anyone that you're having a powerful conversation with. It might be a client, it might be a customer, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, but just replace the word client. But when I'm with clients who are utterly convinced that they are unconfident, and they say to me in the most confident voice I've ever heard, no, Liam, I am unconfident. Trust me. And I say to them, my God, you've said that with such confidence. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I say, you know how confidently you just told me how unconfident you are. That proves to me that you have the ability to be confident in something that you believe in. Instant dispel. But we do this. It's really interesting how we do this. But we convince ourselves of it. So what I want to do today I want to show you how to develop your confidence in very specific situations, in very specific ways, which will overall allow us to feel as though we're a confident person. And the reason why I've highlighted that is because if we feel something, then there is no one that can tell us that that isn't real. And the reason why I really want to emphasize that is some of the steps that I'm going to take you guys through today will allow you to create the feelings of confidence. Now, initially, these steps that we go through, it may seem as though what we're doing is we're creating some form of synthetic confidence, like almost like it's not genuine, like it's not real, like it hasn't come from a true place. But by the end of this training session, what I want to show you is if we're able to create any one emotional state, and we can honestly say that we feel it, who's to tell us that that isn't real? If we can take some tangible steps today to allow us to feel confident in situations that have previously only made us feel unconfident, no one can tell you that that isn't real, because that is a true emotional state that you've created, and we will do it, and we will do it together. Now, there's one thing that I want everybody to know. That feeling that we described of having a lack of confidence, it's way more common than what you think. Way more common. A lot of the time we get ourselves into these situations where we feel like, oh yeah, but this wouldn't work for me. It wouldn't work for me. I'm different. you know, I'm in a situation where I wouldn't be able to create this confidence. I feel a real lack of confidence. Yep, I can see how it will work for everybody else, but not for me, because I'm experiencing a genuine, real deep lack of confidence. And I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. You really are not alone. Trust me. I would go as far as to say, and this is a big statement. This is a big statement, because in the coaching space, we avoid generalizations, right? We completely avoid generalizations. So I don't ever use words like always, everyone, especially not things like everyone, because how can we really say that everyone is a certain thing or a certain way or feels a certain way? Because we're all so unique. However, I would go as far as to say almost everyone at some point, at least throughout their lives, is going to have felt that lack of confidence at one stage, at least. And that's, of course, because we find ourselves in all these various different situations throughout life. And some of the situations make us feel confident, and some of the situations make us feel unconfident. So never feel as though you're alone with that. Never get yourself into the place where you look around and what you see, especially in this social media driven world of the highlight reel, where everybody, of course, is showing their highlight reel on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. Never fall into the trap of looking around and thinking that everybody else is absolutely brimming with confidence and you're not. A lack of confidence is a lot more common than what I think a lot of people realize. And one of the ways in which I started to discover this was I got to the point where I had seen hundreds of clients, maybe even moving into thousands. And every single one of them, every single one, they came to me with one specific problem and a lack of confidence. Everyone. A client would come to me because they've got a bad relationship with their father and they've got a lack of confidence. They're unfulfilled in their job and they've got a lack of confidence. They've got an unhealthy relationship with food and they've got a lack of confidence. Everyone, without fail. And I started to recognize that this is a lot more common than what people think and feel. So I've seen a lot of it. And I've seen a lot of people suffering with this idea that they're unconfident and this lack of confidence. And I've discovered a few very, very tangible steps that we can all take that has worked on every single one of my clients. So, and we're going to go through it today. So if at any stage you thought, fuck, I wish I was a bit more confident, after today, you're going to be able to create it, right? You're going to be the master of your own universe and you're going to be able to create the emotional state of confidence. I mean, how exciting is that? Yes, PJ, throw up those love hearts. That's what it's all about. How good is that to know I don't have to wait for this thing. I don't have to wish for it. I don't have to pray for it. I can make it. I can create it. I can build it. That's what I want everybody to know by the end of this session, how to build it. What is it? Right? What is it? I want to answer this very, very quickly, because this is actually very, very key when it comes to what we're going to be diving into. Now, confidence, the word confidence comes from the Latin word confidere, right? Which means to trust, to trust. The nature of confidence is to trust, right? And the Oxford English Dictionary, the definition is the feeling that one can rely on someone or something. Now, the reason why that is so important is because one thing that I want everybody to start doing as of today, I want you, and don't forget, you're not going to be able to do this all the time. And if you ever slip up, never beat yourself up, right? If you slip up, dust yourself off, move forward, try again. But as of today, I want everybody to try their absolute best to keep the promises that you make to yourself. That's the first thing that we're going to do together. Keep the promises that you make to yourself. Now, why do I say that? The reason I say that is because a lot of the time when people experience a lack of self-confidence, it's because they've gotten into the pattern of letting themselves down, i.e. not keeping the promises they make to themselves, i.e. breaking the trust they have within themselves. And confidence is built upon trust. It literally means to trust. So imagine for a moment that you had a friend and that friend continuously let you down and continuously broke promises to you. They told you that they were going to meet you outside the train station at 4 p.m. and they didn't turn up. They told you that they were going to go and help you out. They were going to help you move home, and they didn't turn up. You know, they told you that they were going to do this thing, or they were going to go there, or they were going to say this, and they never did it, right? You would lose all confidence in that friend because you've lost the trust. You've lost the reliability. We do this within ourselves on a constant basis. We promise ourselves, I promise I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I promise I'm going to stick to that workout regime. I promise I'm going to go and speak my mind at work tomorrow. I promise I'm going to go and do that thing that I've said I'm going to do for a long time. I promise. And what we're doing is we're constantly making promises to ourselves. And if the promises get broken, then the trust gets broken. And if the trust gets broken, then the confidence gets broken. And then we start to experience a lack of confidence. And then what happens? We say, I am an unconfident person. And it's just not true. We're not an unconfident person. We're just putting ourselves in a situation where the trust has been broken. So that's just one very quick little simple thing. And once again, it's not that we can't do that every day. Sometimes we do promise that we're going to get up at the crack of dawn and we don't, right? Because that bed is way too comfy first thing in the morning. And we can't do it all the time. But if we can at least have the realization of, you know what, this is actually going to affect my confidence if I don't do this. And I don't want to have a lack of self-confidence anymore. So I'm actually going to put myself in a position where I'm going to do it. Not because I've said I'm going to do it, not for someone else, not just for the sake of doing it, because I don't want my confidence to be knocked. And that may be an idea that we haven't been introduced to before, but that is the connection. So there's one very, very, very effective way of being able to begin the journey of building up your confidence. And again, this is the very beginning of the journey. We're going to dive into a technique a little bit later on, which is a lot more in depth than this. But this is definitely something that I would love everybody to do as of today. Now, the first promise that you make yourself, I would like the first promise to simply be that you will answer these questions. You don't have to answer them now, but if you make a note of them, just to answer them at the end of the session or at some point today. Because one of the most effective ways of increasing our confidence is bringing awareness around our self-worth. And it's really interesting with self-worth. Self-worth is another one of those things that I've heard again and again within my sessions with my clients, where this also seems to be something that a lot of people experience a lack of self-worth. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not experienced enough. Not enough, not enough, not enough. Now, first and foremost, one of the ways in which I challenge that when I hear my clients say, I'm not enough, is I challenge with one simple word question back, which is enough. Because really, the depth of that lies in the word enough. You know, what is enough? Who determined enough? Who created that scale of what enough is or isn't? And where did it come from? Who was it that introduced you to the idea of something being enough or not being enough? And a lot of the time it can't be answered because it lives in this kind of vague world inside our minds. We convince ourselves, well, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. But we don't even have a gauge for it. There's not even a rating for it. It's just this thing that exists in our head. There really isn't a line which says, by the way, 5.7, that's enough. You should be 5.7 pretty. That's enough, pretty, isn't it? Or maybe you should be 8 smart, because fucking 7.9, that's not enough. It's just absolutely mental, isn't it? It's just like, what is enough? So anyway, what we want to be doing is bringing a lot of awareness around our self-worth, because there's one thing that I can absolutely guarantee, right? And once again, that's a big statement, right? But I can guarantee this. Each and every one of you have a considerable level of worth and a considerable level of value to give this world. And the reason why I know that is because every single one of you has lived a completely unique life, regardless of how valuable you think your life may or may not have been. It's 100% unique. Now, why are diamonds so valuable? Because they're unique. The clarity, the shape, the size, the cut, they're all completely unique. Hence, they have value, right? Now, each and every one of you, every time you turned left or you turned right, everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard, everything you've ever done, every experience you've ever had, everything anyone has ever said to you, about you, everything that every place you've ever been, every experience you've ever absorbed means that you're a completely unique individual. And what comes with that is a lot of self-worth. So I really want you guys to embrace your own self-worth. But one good way of doing it is by simply answering these questions. Can you tell me one thing that you can do better than anyone else? Now, when you answer these questions, it doesn't even need to be something that you do the best in this world, where you're number one, got the gold medal, got the trophy, just something that you feel that you can do better than other people that you know, or other people that you know of. And you know what? That doesn't necessarily mean running the fastest or jumping the highest. Maybe you are the most forgiving person you know. Maybe you're the best listener that you know. Maybe you're the most dedicated partner that you know. Who knows, right? I could give a million examples, but there's one thing I can guarantee. There is going to be something deep down that you think, you know what, even if I don't share it with anyone else, I think I'm the best at that. That's me. I've got that, right? And I've got that down to a T. And you don't even need to share it if you don't want to, but just, you know, that's how you feel, and embrace that worth. I'm all about really embracing that stuff. When it comes to the coaching masters, I'm very proud to have created an environment where we celebrate each other's wins. The coaching masters is a zero negativity, zero hate zone, zero, right? None at all. We celebrate each other's wins and we blow our own trumpets. I don't know if that's a saying in the US, but in the UK, we say we blow our own trumpet, which means we celebrate our own wins. And so anyway, I want us to start doing that. When was a time that you succeeded at something? And once again, it doesn't need to be having won a gold medal or won an Oscar. You may have succeeded today because you got out of bed and today was a difficult day for you to get out of bed. That's a success. Maybe you had 3 meals today, whereas maybe growing up, you only had 1. Who knows? That's a success, right? Maybe you have managed to put on a smile today for your loved ones. That could be a success. Successes are not based upon their size and their merit. They're based upon the way in which we feel about them. What 5 things are you really good at? And again, this is all about numbers. I just want people to be like, oh, well, I'm good at these 1 or 2 things. And I'm like, what else? What else? What else? What else? Because we are good at multiple things. And I want you to recognize that. What makes you special? Now, the word there, special, is open for interpretation. It's subjective. And that's on purpose. I want you to understand what's special to you and what's special about you to you, because you're unique. There are going to be things that make you special in your eyes that we neglect and we forget about. And I want you to embrace it, because again, it makes you that unique diamond that you are. So what makes you special? How can you explain to me a time, or can you explain to me a time where you overcame a difficult life challenge? There's a lot of worth in the adversities that we've overcome. And I can guarantee that all of us have overcome at least a couple. Recognize them, celebrate overcoming that adversity. It doesn't always just have to live in the realm of pain and darkness. We're here today. Moving through losing my dad to suicide, I'm still here. And I've always said, I will never move on. That's my own choice, but I will move forward every single day. I will move forward for him and for the people that I'm helping now. I've overcome that adversity and I embrace that to allow myself to recognize my own worth. And why are you talented? And once again, this doesn't need to be doing backflips and singing and dancing. You might be talented at multiple things that you consider a talent. Maybe it's a hidden talent that you've not told anyone about. As long as you can embrace it, that's what matters. So that's just the first little thing to kick us off. Now, the 2 main things that we're going to be talking about today are the 2 different main types of confidence. So there's natural confidence and there's inner confidence, right? So let's dive into this. Now, natural confidence, I should say quickly, natural confidence is not pretty, right? It's not polished. And you'll get to see why in a moment. Inner confidence is a little bit more polished. It's a bit prettier. And we're going to learn how we develop both of those things. So natural confidence is the strongest type of confidence that someone can develop. So this is where we want to begin. This is what we strive for. And I'm going to teach you a way to be able to develop this. Now, natural confidence is the type of confidence that feels effortless. This is when someone trusts in themselves and their own ability so much that their confidence levels are naturally high. This is when we look to those people that are brimming with confidence and we're like, wow, I'd love to do that. I'd love to feel that way. I'd love to be that way. And I'm here to tell you right now, you absolutely can. And there are specific steps that we need to take. But what we must understand about natural confidence is that it's developed via competence, right? It really is the only way to develop natural confidence. That very, very sturdy, effortless confidence really comes from when we are very, very good at something, when we've done something enough times and we've gathered enough experience that something becomes effortless to us and we can do it with absolute confidence. I've got to the point now where I've got to the point where if I jump on a training like this, I feel utterly confident about it. But the only reason is because I've done it so many times. And so what I've done is I've not like taken some sort of magic pill or waved a magic wand. I've simply developed competence through action. That's all that is competence through action. My confidence that I have when delivering these kind of talks, and even like I said at the start, I still got nervous, but I feel very confident. And I feel very confident that it will go very, very well. And the only reason that I have that level of natural confidence is simply because of repetition, because of taking action, because of doing what I'm currently doing so many times that I've developed competence. So what we want is we want to develop competence, really, if we want a deep level of confidence. And this is what I mean by this bit being not polished or not pretty, because we might think, oh, fucking hell, that means I'm just going to have to do it. Right? Oh God, but I don't want to do it because I'm feeling unconfident, right? And I've got an answer for that. I've got a technique that can help us take the first step towards taking action towards something that we want to be good at or that we want to feel confident in. But initially, we don't feel good about it. We're like, oh no, I don't want to take any action. Oh, the idea of taking that first step is like, no. I feel way too unconfident. I feel way too what's the word? I can't even remember. Why is that word just completely gone out of my head? So weird. Anyway, you know what I mean? It's just totally blanks out of my head. What is that fucking word? Anyway, I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's someone's probably fucking rocked it up in the comments. Let's see, actually, in the chat. Self-conscious, yes. Who was that? Yes, Frida, saving my ass there. Well done. Self-conscious. You know what? Because I've said the word confident so many times. I was like, self-confident? That's not the one. Yeah. So anyway, we might feel self-conscious and we don't want to do it because there's a lack of confidence. So anyway, but what we really do want to do in the long term is we do want to develop this sense of competence, right? Now, here's the thing, right? Let's say, for instance, there's an example down there. Again, I use the term client. So if your client is unconfident about starting a business, right, for instance, and hasn't learned any of the skills, does this mean that they are an unconfident person? Of course it doesn't, but we still seem to fall into that trap. We will look towards things that we have got no experience in, that we've gained no knowledge, and we've not developed any ability. And we will say, well, I must be an unconfident person because I don't feel confident doing that. Of course you fucking don't feel confident doing that. You've never done it before. No one's going to feel confident doing it first time round. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not the way that we work. But that is one of the biggest traps we fall into. We're like, oh shit, that person's doing it and they're doing it really confidently. I wouldn't be able to get up and do it that confidently. That must mean I'm an unconfident person. And there goes the horrible spiral we fall down. But of course it doesn't mean that, right? We just seemingly haven't developed enough competence in that area to be able to feel confident in our ability to get the result we're looking for. So what we really, really need to create is this thing that we call the confidence loop, right? Competence, fucking self-conscious. It's all sounded like one thing, isn't it? But yeah, so we need to create this loop. So the confidence loop. If your client exposes themselves, right, and us as well, this is another thing I want to mention. When I say client, I'm also talking about us. And the reason why I say this is because in order to become a very, very powerful coach, you first must apply these techniques to yourself and your own life. And this is how I really got into coaching in a big way, because I needed it. You know, my acting career crashed. Fucking Tom Hardy doesn't recognize who I am, even though I worked with him for 6 months. I've lost a load of weight. I'm feeling bad about myself. I'm feeling down. I needed these techniques. I needed them, right? I was doing a job that made me feel lost and directionless. I was unfulfilled. I didn't know. I needed these techniques. So I'm a big advocate for using them on yourself as well before you use them on your clients. So let's also, when we listen to these techniques, think about using them on yourself, right? Even though I've written it in a way where it's you working with a client. Now, if your client or us, if we expose ourselves to the exact area that makes us feel unconfident, what will happen is we will start to create momentum within something that we call this competence confidence loop. If we take action towards doing the exact thing that makes us feel unconfident, this will eventually increase our competence levels and therefore contribute towards our own levels of natural confidence. So the number one thing we have to do is take action, right? When we look at something and we're like, right, that I'm really scared of that. I feel very unconfident having that conversation. I feel very unconfident applying for that job. I feel very unconfident speaking to that person, going to that place, doing that thing. We need to take action in order to fix the problem. I hate that word, but you know what I mean? In order to fix the loop. But how do we do that? That's the thing, isn't it? Because when we're faced with that sense of unconfidence, like I said previously, the idea of taking action can be excruciating. Now, what we know because of the competence confidence loop is it really is the only way of developing natural confidence through competence, which is what we really truly desire. But how do we take that first bit of action? Because it's terrifying. We do it via developing what we call inner confidence. It's not natural confidence, it's inner confidence. So this is really the bulk of what we're doing tonight, right? Learning these techniques. So inner confidence is a type of confidence that you can create rather than having to develop naturally. This type of confidence is ideal for your clients' confidence levels or our confidence levels. If those confidence levels are so low that we just cannot bring ourselves to take that very first bit of action that we need. Or we don't have the time to develop lots of competence because, of course, as well, competence can take time. Practice, 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 right? Maybe we don't have the time and we need to feel confident right now. Maybe we've got a presentation that's just been sprung upon us and we don't have time to deliver 1,000 presentations to develop natural confidence. Maybe we need a burst of confidence right now. Now, I'm sure that we've all found ourselves in situations where we could really do with a bit of that. Right, where we could really do with a little bit of that magic pill. And we're like, look, if I could just take a magic pill and feel confident. I know that there are actual pills out there that probably make you feel that way. I'm not recommending anyone to take ecstasy. I'm talking about let's actually develop some inner confidence using some mindset techniques. But so how do we do it? Right, that's what we need. We need that burst of confidence immediately. Now, with inner confidence, there are three things that we can focus on to start to develop a sense of confidence within ourselves, right? And of course, of our clients. Now, I have to say that inner confidence, it's not as strong or as sturdy as natural confidence, but it's a very good substitute if needed and can develop into natural confidence via the competence loop, right? So this technique that we're going to go through today, these three things that we're going to talk about, they're very effective, they're very strong, but really, truly, if we want to develop sturdy, long-lasting confidence, we must be competent. We know that, right? But to get there, we're going to develop this inner confidence because it's very, very effective. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to move, we're going to hear, we're going to feel. This will make perfect sense by the end of it. But we're going to put ourselves in a position in terms of our imagination, our internal dialogue, and our physiology. We're going to put ourselves in a position of confidence. And there is a way that can be done. So what we do is we be it until we see it, which I'm sure is a term that people have heard before. We've all heard fake it till you make it. There's a few negative connotations with fake it because, of course, the word fake in itself has negative connotations. So instead, we're going to be it until we see it, or in this case, until we feel it. Now, sometimes we must adopt the characteristics and emotional state of a confident person in order to develop into that kind of person. I'm going to say that one more time, because this is the bulk of what we're doing next. Sometimes we must adopt the characteristics and emotional state of a confident person in order to develop into that kind of person. We all have the ability to do this. We all have the ability to adopt the characteristics and emotional state of a confident version of who we are that's buried down deep inside us. We just need to know the steps, and I'm going to take you through the steps today. By imitating confidence, the person can begin to recognize that they can, in fact, and they do, in fact, have the ability to hold themselves in this way. And they can then start to adopt that mentality permanently. Now, as I said, you may have heard that term, fake it till you make it. And although this is effective, like I mentioned before, it does apply fakeness, which we don't want. However, you do have a natural source of confidence within you. A lot of the time, we just aren't accessing it, but it is there, right? It does exist. So if you choose to be it, if we choose to step into this confident version of ourselves, then it will start to feel normal. And that's the real mission here, to do this so it becomes a normal part of our existence and a normal part of our life. There is a source of confidence within each and every one of you. It's just that when we're feeling unconfident, it's not being accessed, and accessing it is not a normal thing for us. It's not a daily thing. It's not a routine. It's alien to us. It's unusual, but it is there. It is there. I can promise you it's there, and we're going to find it. So if you choose to be it and be confident, this will start to feel normal, and you'll start to see it naturally in other areas of your life as well. So this is the way in which we do it. We do it with this incredible structure that we call the triad, the confidence triad, the emotional triad, whatever you want to call it. It's got a few different names. It's made up of your imagination, your self-talk, and your body posture. All emotional states essentially come from what we do with our imagination, our self-talk, and our body posture. Now, once again, that is a big statement because, of course, more things do contribute towards our emotional state in any one moment, such as our values, our beliefs, our perception, the people around us, our internal brain filters. There's a lot that goes into creating an emotional state as a human being. However, one thing I'm a big fan of is simplifying processes. I am a firm believer that we do not need to make something complicated in order to make it valuable. In fact, I find a hell of a lot more value in simplifying processes. And even though today we could try to cram in the idea of beliefs, values, perception shifts, history, experiences, and say all of them contribute to whether or not I do or don't feel confident, I feel strongly that actually we can boil it down to these three things. And that's a good thing, because if we can simplify the process, it makes it easier to follow. Imagination, this is literally the images we create inside our mind. Self-talk is the voice inside our head. Now, we've all got one. It doesn't make you crazy. It makes you human, right? We've all got a voice inside our head. We all talk to ourselves. And our body posture, what we are literally doing with our physical body. All three of these things have a direct effect on our confidence levels, as well as determining all forms of emotion that we experience. Let me give you a few examples. If we're feeling unloved, right? If in any one moment we're feeling unloved, there is a very, very, very strong chance that we are thinking about things that make us feel unloved. We're thinking about reasons as to why we're unloved. And what we're doing with our imagination is we're creating those internal images that represent the idea of us being unloved. That's unique to everybody because everybody's internal representations inside their mind is completely unique. But if in any one moment you're feeling unloved, the chances are the images inside your head are contributing towards the emotional state of feeling unloved. If you're feeling unloved, your internal dialogue is more than likely reinforcing that and telling you how much you feel unloved and telling you why you're unloved and giving you all of the reasons as to why you're unloved. And you know what your body posture will do? Your body posture will react to the self-talk and the imagination. And it will more than likely probably collapse, close in on itself, or fucking crawl under those covers, crawl under the duvet, get into bed and not get out for a day. Now, if you're feeling exhilarated, excited and exhilarated and buzzing for the day ahead, the chances are the images inside your mind are contributing towards that. The chances are the things in which you're thinking about, the images inside your head, are contributing towards the feeling of exhilaration. And also the chances are the self-talk is reinforcing it. This is going to be a great day. I can't believe it. I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to go there. I love that person. This is great. Boom, 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 boom. And then what is happening with your body posture? Your body posture, as always, is reacting to what's happening within your self-talk and your imagination. So we want to be able to grab hold of this process and utilize it in a way that is going to work for us. And in this instance, we're talking about confidence. We want to be able to take control. It's a funny word, that some negative connotations around the word control, but in this instance, let's use it as a sense of empowerment. Let's use it as a sense of empowerment for us and ourselves, that we are going to take control over our own emotional triad so we can feel the emotional states that we need to feel, that we want to feel, that will help us live the life that we want, and therefore positively affect everyone else around us. So in that instance, it's a very empowering thing, and we're going to do that right now. So influencing the emotional triad. So this is what we do. Once again, it's written in a way where I would take a client through the process. And it's a very, very simple 3 to 4 stage process. I'm going to show you step number 4 in a minute. But what I would like everybody to do at some point throughout the day, if you have a coach, which is awesome, I've got a coach. I believe that it's important to have coaches in our lives. Then ask your coach to take you through this process. If not, do it with yourself. If not, get together with a friend and just play around with this idea, play around with this technique. All exploration around what it is we're thinking, what it is we're feeling, and moving our emotional state more towards an emotional state that positively affects us can only be a good thing. So we might as well experiment with it. So do this technique on yourself if you want. Step number 1, stand up, right? Now, you don't have to do this right now, by the way. You don't have to do this now. Because I would love to take everybody through it. I know I don't have time to take everyone through it today, but when you do this, make sure you're on your feet, okay? Because motion creates emotion, right? Never forget that. Motion creates emotion. It's very difficult. It's not impossible to do stuff like this sitting down slumped in a chair, but fuck me, it's difficult, right? You want to be on your feet. You want to be moving around, okay?
Let's get everybody up on their feet and get them to do it.
Well, you could, Haley. I'm not going to fully go through the whole process right now.
Okay.
Because it's just that it would take a lot more time for me to fully do it. Normally, I would do this with someone over the course of an entire 1-hour session. But yeah, take your time with it afterwards. However, just to back up what Haley's just said, if you do want to get on your feet and dance around like Sandy's doing, go on, Sandy, then I'm not going to stop you. That's for sure. I'm not going to stop you. So yeah, guys, anyway, when you do go through this process, yes, Frida's on her feet as well. See her back there. So when you do go through this process, make sure that you are up on your feet, you're standing, you're moving around. Because like I said, motion creates emotion. Then what you want to do is you want to close your eyes. And what you want to think about is you want to vividly imagine. Now, I'm going to make a little bit of a change to this, yeah, because there's something more powerful than something that's vividly imagined. And that's something that's vividly remembered, right? So I want you guys to vividly remember a time in your life where you felt utterly confident. Now, even beforehand, before you start the technique, you can make the decision as to what that memory is. You can have a little think, you can have a brainstorm beforehand. You can make a decision as to what the memory is, what the event was, what the place was, who the person was. But when you do go through this process, I just want you to really take your time to vividly remember a time in your life where you felt utterly confident. And first and foremost, it shows us, proves to us that there are times in our life where we did feel that way. Now, if for any reason you're struggling, really struggling to find a memory where you felt confident, then you can, of course, fall back on vividly imagining, because imagination is also very powerful. You can fall back on vividly imagining what it would be like to be confident. There's a lot of power in memory and imagination. Your memory and your imagination is way more powerful than I think a lot of people realize. It is a direct access link to emotional states. And a lot of the time when we're going through life and we're trudging through life and we're clawing through it and we're just trying to get by day and we're feeling a sense of anxiety, a sense of shame, a sense of depression, we forget that we have this incredible tool, our imagination and our memory, which can allow us to feel these emotional states that we want. So what you do is you get to a point where you are really vividly in it, right? You get to a point where you're in it, where that person, either the person you're working with or you're fully embracing the memory. You're seeing the memory through your own eyes. You're feeling what you felt. You're seeing what you saw. You're hearing what you heard, and you're fully in it. Then when you're in it, or your client, of course, when you're taking your client through this process, you want to ask them this series of questions, because these questions are focused on the three main points of the triad: the imagination, the self-talk, and the body posture. So when you've got that person, your client or yourself, depending on who's doing this, in that place where you're vividly remembering or imagining what it was like to be confident, and you're seeing what you saw, you're hearing what you heard, you're feeling what you felt, you're embracing the memory, you're embracing that part of you, that emotional state of confidence. First, we want to explore your imagination. So when I'm working with my clients, I'll ask them, as this confident version of yourself, what do you picture inside your mind? And I'm talking literally, what do you picture inside your mind? And you know what? It could be completely and utterly random. And that's okay, because that's your subconscious giving you a sign and telling you that that means something. Or it may specifically be a person, a place, a thing, an event. Just know that when you're in that state of confidence, you are picturing a very specific thing. And even though it might seem strange or seem random, just recognize it and explain it and embrace it. And then I want to say, how do you see yourself? As this confident version of you, how do you see yourself? When you're standing there and you're vividly remembering it, or you're vividly imagining it, how do you see yourself in this place at this time? How do you see the situation? What are you thinking about? What we're trying to do with these questions is we're just trying to explore the person's imagination. We're tapping into the internal images inside that person's mind. And the reason why the answers to these questions are so valuable is because the answers to these questions, what they tell us is they tell us exactly what we need to think in order to feel a sense of confidence, because they've come from a previous place, a previous memory, a previous experience. They've proven to us previously that these are the images we need to picture if we want to feel that particular emotional state. And then move your questioning onto self-talk. As this confident version of you, what are you saying to yourself? Literally, what do you say to yourself? Because when we're feeling an emotional state, be it good, be it bad, be it useful, not useful, positive, negative, whatever you want to call it, when we're feeling an emotional state, a big part of that emotional state is being contributed to via our self-talk. A big part of that emotional state, our self-talk is responsible for it. And a lot of the time, the self-talk sits in that realm of subconscious, and it's happening, but we don't fully consciously recognize it happening, but it's happening. Just a little side note here, tiny little side note, just a little simple thing to remember. If you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself, right? And I'm sure we've heard that before, but whenever I'm talking about self-talk, I just like to give that little side note because it was something that someone said to me a long time ago. And it's so easy to remember that. And I feel like it goes a very long way to stopping us from saying, you're so stupid, you're useless, no one's going to like you, no one's going to want you, no one's going to respect you, and all of that bullshit that we say to ourselves a lot, right? But a lot of the time it happens in the back of our mind subconsciously. What we're doing through this process is we're saying, actually, that's the emotional state I want to feel, in this case, confidence. This is a time where I remember feeling that way. And this is what I was saying to myself that day in that moment. And what we're going to do, we're going to take those words and we're going to repeat those words. And we're going to say that instead of the other things that we've been saying. What does your voice sound like at this time in your life? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it loud? Is it soft? Is it brassy? Is it smooth? What does it sound like? Does it sound assured? Does it sound confident? Does it sound restful? Does it sound paced? Who knows, right? You are the only one that can tell us that, but we must answer those questions. What words, literally, what words do you use when speaking to yourself? We want to know that also. And then finally, we focus on the body posture. There's a lot of clues in the body posture. When we're making the decision that we want to feel that emotional state of confidence, and we've put ourselves in the position where we've closed our eyes, we've stood up, we've put ourselves back in that place, we've vividly remembered the moment we were confident, we must recognize what our body was doing. And we must also recognize what our body naturally goes to do when we start to remember what it feels like to be confident. When I say to everybody, go back to that place, step back into that memory, go back to that moment where you felt confident, feel it, feel what was happening. What you'll notice is your body will start to react to that. Your body will start to move in a certain way. And we want to recognize that. Now, I'll say to my clients, as this confident version of you, how are you standing? How do you move? How do you sit? What are your arms doing? What's your chest doing? What about your chin, your back? Where's your forehead? Is it facing forward? Is it facing down? Is it facing up? What about your legs? What about your knees? What about your feet? Just recognizing every single part of your body and what does it do when you feel confident? How does it move? How does it react? What is your posture like? Now, these are the 3 pillars of an emotional state. When we're feeling an emotional state, we do not often question what is happening with our imagination, our self-talk, and our body posture. We simply feel it. And what we convince ourselves of is well, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. This person has made me feel this way. That place has made me feel this way. The situation has made me feel this way. I've just woken up on the wrong side of the bed. It's just a bad day. I'm just not in the mood. And we let that embrace us. But not very often do we then say, well, hang on a minute. What am I imagining? What's my self-talk doing? And what's my body posture doing? And are they serving me right now? Are they serving me? There's a big thing within coaching that we believe in a big way. We are less concerned with whether or not something is right or wrong, good or bad, true or false. Okay. We are more concerned with whether something is useful or not useful. Is it serving you or is it not serving you? Now, there may be lots of really valid reasons as to why the negative emotional state we're feeling is there. When I lost my dad to suicide, I had lots of reasons to feel all of the negative emotional states I was feeling. But when I broke out of that mist and that darkness, and I decided to coach myself, the question really was, this way I'm feeling, is it understandable? Yes. Is it true? Yes. Is it useful? No, it's not useful. Does it serve me? Not in any way. And it certainly doesn't serve the people around me. So how am I going to change it? Well, what am I imagining? Well, I'm imagining losing my dad. What's my self-talk doing? Saying you're really fucking useless. You should have been able to help him and you didn't. And what's my body posture doing? Well, I'm actually crawled him under the bed and I'm not talking to anyone. I'm not moving. I'm not eating or drinking. Of course, I'm going to feel pretty bad if all of those things are going on. Now, there's a good reason for it, but the good reason still doesn't change the fact that it didn't serve me and it wasn't useful. So like I say, in coaching, we're less concerned with good or bad, right or wrong, true or false. We're more concerned with, is it useful or not useful? And if it's more useful for us to change the triad, to create an emotional state that we would prefer, then that must be what we do. Now, turning imagination into reality to finish this off. Now that your client, and again, this could be us we're referring to, has vividly imagined what the confident version of themselves would be like on the 3 levels of the emotional triad, all they have to do now is do it, embrace it, be it. Our imagination gives us very vital clues as to what needs to happen for us to feel a certain way. Encouraging our clients to think the way that we think when we're in that emotional state, in that memory, to talk the way we talk, to move the way we move. This will genuinely start to feel, they will start to feel the same levels of inner confidence that they were just vividly imagining. So when you take them through that process and you get them to step into the memory of confidence or the imagination of what it would be like to be confident, and they say to you, they answer all of those questions and they say, this is what I'm imagining, this is what I'm saying to myself, and this is what my body posture is doing. Do that. That's the key. Do that. Now, here's another thing. Do it, especially when you don't feel like it. And trust me, you're not going to feel like it all of the time. But when we really don't feel like it is very often the time where it's the most useful to us. Now, this exercise proves that there is no such thing as a confident or an unconfident person, only people who use emotions to influence their actions, right? Now, most people are not aware that our imagination, our self-talk, our body posture is going through a very specific process when we feel confident or unconfident. When we look at people that we deem to be very, very confident, they may not be aware that they're using their emotional triad in such a way that it's creating confidence, but they are using it. They might just not be consciously aware of it. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that what they're imagining, what their self-talk is doing, and what their body posture is doing is going to be contributing in a big, big, big way towards the feeling of confidence. So we now, as people who understand this process, we must take the empowerment amongst ourselves and decide as of today that we're going to utilize this process. That's in our power to make that decision. We get to make that decision. Once we become aware of something, this is another huge part of coaching, is awareness. It's a huge part of coaching because we cannot change that of which we are unaware. It's impossible because we're unaware of it. We can't consciously change something of which we are unaware anyway. But once we become aware of something, it's almost impossible to ignore it. And I'll give you a very good example of that. What I would like everybody to do right now is I would like you to recognize that right here, right now, there is one part of your body that maybe has a slight ache, maybe an itch, maybe a little bit of tension somewhere in your body. So right now, recognize, where is that in your body right now? Just feel it. Now, what will happen now, even if it doesn't happen immediately, because I have raised your awareness to something that may be a bit of an ache or a tension or an itch, you will not be able to help yourself at least just kind of go and move a little bit or scratch the itch or try to get the tension out. Because what we are is we're natural problem solvers. So when we become aware of something that we deem to be somewhat of a problem, we focus on it and we try to fix it naturally. When we become aware of something, we put our focus into it and we kind of have to try to do something about it. So what I want today is I want everybody now, having become aware of your emotional triad, I want you to be empowered enough to start to use it and utilize it. And for lack of a better word, control it. Because it's happening. Whether we like it or not, it's happening. And if we do not make the decision that we're going to influence our emotional triad, that we're going to influence our imagination, our internal dialogue, our body posture, it will influence us. It's one or the other. Either we influence it or it influences us. And it's only those two options, essentially. So we may as well empower ourselves enough to influence it. So just to finish off, we're talking about tapping into that confidence. Now, there's no such thing as a confident or unconfident person, because everybody just feels that emotional state either more or less. But every single one of you is confident right now. It's just a case of tapping into the confidence. It's just about finding it. There are two types of confidence, as we know, which is the natural confidence that you develop through competence, and inner confidence that you can summon up at any time by using the emotional triad. One of the best things about the triad is it can give you just that little burst of confidence needed to take the initial action. And if we can take that piece, that little bit of initial action towards something that at the moment makes us feel unconfident, then what happens? We gain a little bit of competence. And if we get a little bit of competence, then it gives us that little bit more confidence. And if we've got a little bit more confidence, then we can take a little bit more action. So I'm not ever here to talk about taking massive, gigantic, fucking jump off a cliff action. Go out there. If you want to do it, go for it. Like honestly, if you're in that position where you're empowered to do that, you can do it, right? And what you will gain is massive levels of competence, right? In a short amount of time, which is great. But for those people that just want to take it just a little step at a time, just a tiny little step at a time, to work your way towards being confident, you can also do it with tiny steps. Just follow the emotional triad, have just a little burst of confidence, just enough to take a little bit of action, then you'll develop a little bit of competence, and then the cycle continues. So no matter what situation you find yourselves in, you have the ability to take yourself through this process of imagination, self-talk, body posture that will allow you to be it until you see it, or be it until you feel it, and start to create the feelings of inner confidence until they start to see the effects, or until you start to see the effects. And like I said down there, then it's very important to take action towards developing that competence. So let me ask you right now, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, ladies, it's the Women's Entrepreneur Summit, but I know there's a few gents as well. So are you ready to tap into your confidence by being aware of your emotional triad and starting to influence it and taking those steps? So just very, very briefly, just to finish off, something that me and Hayley are very, very excited about. What I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be offering, I say just going to be offering, that's me actually, I'm going to remove that word from that sentence, Liam, because it's actually quite a good, significant thing. Have some confidence in what you're saying. I'm going to be offering 3 days of completely free mindset development training inside of the Women's Entrepreneur Network, which I'm really excited about. So if you go to, just to opt in, just to receive the details of the training, so the details of the training will then be present to you, just so you mark this out in your diary. If you go to thecoachingmasters.com/WEN, which of course is Women's Entrepreneur Network -free-training, and there you will find all of the details of the free training that I'm going to be doing within the Women's Entrepreneur Network. And just very briefly, as it says there, day number 1, you'll find out how to know exactly what your future customers are thinking. Day number 2, how to create consistent positive changes in your business and overcome any fear that's holding you back. And day number 3, how to become the ultimate entrepreneurial leader using the power of coaching. And I'm going to be going over those 3 topics in great detail on April 27th, 28th, and 29th, completely for free inside of the Women's Entrepreneur Network. I would love to see every single one of you there. And I hope indeed that this has been a useful and empowering masterclass on confidence. Thank you so much for introducing me and welcoming me into this group, Hayley. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yes. Everybody, let's give Liam a round of applause. Thank you. Yes, amazing. You know, I was getting so many comments from people while we were listening to you speak, because this is such a powerful subject to so many of us, that confidence and, you know, learning confidence and practicing confidence and becoming confident. So well done. Thank you so much. I think you have just made a massive difference in people's lives. So Doris was asking the question, what time of day on the 27th through the 29th?
I do believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, Hayley, I think it's 6:30 Eastern time, because it's 11:30 p.m. UK time. It's actually on that link, actually. Let me click. I saw, Hayley, that you posted the link.
I did post the link. It is
oh, if you just whack in your name and email address, I know on the next page. Let me just put mine in now quickly. Hang on. And then on the next page it says it. So I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
So it says,
I don't remember. I have to go look at my calendar because I've got it all up in my calendar.
6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30.
Yep, 6:30 to 8 p.m. the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th. So 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, that's correct.
UK time, that is
it'll be 11:30 p.m. It says 10:30 on that sheet, but I'll change that. Yeah, 11:30 p.m. UK time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
And then it's 3:30 p.m. Pacific, because we have a bunch of people in California.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like saying, I'm just here saying, wow, yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, this has been an honor to have you here speaking today. I mean, it's just so incredibly impactful, because I think that confidence is the one of those things that gets in our way. And as women in particular, you know, we spend a lot of time overcoming that confidence thing. You know, a man will apply for a job if he meets 50 to 60% of the criteria that are listed. Women will not apply for a job in general until they meet 80 to 100% of the criteria listed. That's the confidence gap right there.
It's a really interesting example, that, isn't it? Because whenever there's an example of statistics that we can find and they're right there in front of us in black and white, it really stands out. But honestly, I want each and every one of you to fully recognize and embrace that as a human being, you have the ability to tap into confidence that already exists. You don't need to create it from scratch. You don't need to try to go and find it in some sort of ominous place. It is there. It's already there. And the proof lies in our memories and our imagination. Because if we can remember a time where we felt confident, it's absolute proof that you have that ability. And even if you can just imagine what confidence must feel like, that shows us that once again, you have the ability to feel it because you can imagine it. So just embrace your imagination, your self-talk, and your body posture, and create, and not even create, find that sense of confidence that's already there. You can all do it. Every single one of you can do it. It's a given. You're human beings. You're empowered. You're valid. You're loved. You have a voice. Use that voice. Use that empowerment, and find that confidence. It's already there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see. Yeah, women are. Somebody was asking me the statistics. So yeah, I mean, it's just really interesting to see, to me. You know, and it's almost an interesting form of self-sabotage, you know, that's preventing us from getting ahead. You know, men will almost always negotiate a pay raise. Women will frequently take the job that's offered at the pay that's offered. And that creates a despair. I mean, you can just see the statistics over and over again in corporate. It replicates almost exactly in entrepreneurship. So
sure.
It's a big deal.
I would love all of you to be the ones to buck that trend and start that by answering the questions that I gave you at the beginning. What are you better at than anyone else? Why are you unique? You know, why are you special? Where are your talents? Where have you succeeded? Where have you overcome adversity? If you're ever in a position where, like, just to use that as an example, Hayley, two people asking for a pay rise, there's a man asking for a pay rise, a woman asking for a pay rise, you remind yourself of that stuff beforehand. You really remind yourself of it, and it will put you in a much stronger position to say, no, I'm going to get it. I know I'm going to ask for it and I'm going to do it. Remind yourself of those things, because it reminds us of our own self-worth, and we deserve to be reminded of our own self-worth. You know, we've gone through things, we've experienced things, we've been things, we really deserve to remind ourselves of our own self-worth. So please do answer those questions and don't allow it to just be an interesting exercise you don't do. Like, really do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Let's give Liam another round of applause and give him some reactions and some love. If you're on the, on a desktop, you can use the reactions and do that. So thank you, everybody. So our next step is going to be to break out into rooms. We're going to actually do it twice between now and 3 p.m. We're going to do 2 very quick back-to-back, about 13 to 14 minute sessions where I'm going to stir you guys up. We're going to put you in about 4 to 5 people into a room. And we're going to give you guys a chance to connect with one another and hopefully, set some appointments outside of this event, because that's where the magic really happens. This is just the beginning. And I want to be that little bitty, snowflake, where you guys start rolling downhill and making that really big fat snowball. So that's what we're aiming for.
So Hayley, I've got to shoot. It's bath time for little baby Posey right now.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go and shoot off to bath time. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, everyone. Please do connect with me. I'm inside of the Women's Entrepreneur Network. I've put a couple of posts up recently, and so yeah, you'll know where to find me. I'm on Instagram as well. I'm at liam.james.collins. If you want to go and find me over there, shoot me a message. I'll send you a message back tonight. But I'm going to go and kiss and cuddle my baby girl and have bath time and all that lovely stuff. So I love you all. You're amazing. You're powerful. You're valid. You have a voice. Use that voice. And Hayley, thank you so much for the platform.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you. And we will see you soon. And